What a rare find is a capable wife. Her worth is far beyond that of rubies. Her husband puts his confidence in her and lacks no good thing. She is good to him, never bad, all the days of her life. She looks for wool and flax and sets her hand to them with a will. She is like a merchant fleet, bringing her food from afar. She rises while it's still night and supplies provisions for her household, the daily fare of her maids. She sets her mind on an estate and acquires it. She plants a vineyard by her own labors. She girds herself with strength and performs her tasks with vigor. She sees that her business thrives. Her lamp never goes out at night. She sets her hand to the distaff. Her fingers work the spindle. She gives generously to the poor. Her hands are stretched out to the needy. She is not worried for her household because of snow, for her whole household is dressed in crimson. She makes covers for herself. Her clothing is linen and purple. Her husband is prominent in the gates and sits among the elders of the land. She makes cloth and sells it, and offers a girdle to the merchant. She is clothed with strength and splendor. She looks to the future cheerfully. Her mouth is full of wisdom, her tongue with kindly teaching. She oversees the activities of her household and never eats the bread of idleness. Her children declare her happy. Her husband praises her. Many women have done well, but you surpass them all. Grace is deceptive. Beauty is illusory. For it is for her fear of the Lord that a woman is to be praised. Extol her for the fruit of her hand, and let her works praise her in the gates. The grass withers and the flower fades, but the word of the Lord lives forever, and this is the word of the Lord. All thanks be to God. A beautiful passage about a beautiful woman. A woman anyone would be wise to embrace. You know, with all this talk recently about Lady Wisdom, I can't help but feel like I'm mansplaining. You know, when a man tries to explain stuff to you about women. Not really the best of people to explain stuff about women, I don't think. Even though I am guilty of doing that from time to time with the best of them, especially when I'm trying to lift up important women from the Bible, like we find Lady Wisdom here and the woman described more specifically here in Proverbs. What we find here is a further personification of Lady Wisdom, and I think in reading Proverbs, I think I'm in good company, at least, about this whole mansplaining thing, because Proverbs itself mansplains quite a bit. And I would love to hear from you wise women in the congregation today about how this goes. And you guys, too, always love to hear what y'all are thinking, even when you holler it out in the middle of the service. In fairness, while I'm not really the best person to talk about the subject, about women, it's kind of mansplaining coming from me, but I have been influenced heavily by a lot of incredible women throughout my life. You know, from the start, I was always kind of a mama's boy anyway. Justin and I were kind of like Jacob and Esau. I would have been more like Jacob. He would have been more like Esau. He leaned toward dad. I leaned toward mom. Seeing our father had died at a young age, we saw Mom rise up to an even more prominent role in our lives as she was left to raise two young boys until she remarried and brought Tim into our lives, giving us a father to be there with us and more family to be with. And Tim helped a lot dealing with a couple of knuckleheaded boys like me and Justin. Whether it was her raising us herself or finding amazing people to help raise us, Mom always had a very, very strong hand in bringing us up. Yet very wise, very gentle, also very strong. very capable as a mother. And from my perspective, I think she seems to be obviously a very strong and very capable wife as well. Now, of course, I now am blessed to have my own amazing woman in my life. A very strong, very capable wife of my own. And right, honey? Am I doing okay? Yeah, okay. Well, considering my wife and our daughter, and women in family, women in church, women in schools I've been to, I've been blessed and influenced by many strong and very capable women. So that first line in today's passage kind of catches me off guard, and it felt like it caught you guys off guard a little bit. I heard some giggling after that first line of how rare is a capable wife. Now I agree with the part that her worth is far, far beyond rubies. But with as many incredible women, that I see in the world and have encountered, I don't know, it doesn't seem like it must be that rare, even though I am extremely fortunate, right, honey? There are many truly remarkable women in the world, and a bunch of you are in the room right now. So let's reel this back a little bit. What are we really talking about here? Why did the passage start with us this morning in that way before we get carried away on it? The title of this chapter, in verse 1 of this chapter, it says, "The words of Lemuel, king of Massa, with which his mother admonished him." So this chapter, the whole chapter, is the king's mother's advice, or the king's telling of his mother's advice to him, largely about a woman for him to find and make his queen. And also, if you want to know a little bit about the biblical poetry stuff, this is one of those poems where it goes through every single letter of the Hebrew alphabet to explain this woman. So it gives this holistic, grand perspective of what this good woman, amazing wife would be. That's kind of the idea. So not only giving the advice to find this special woman to make his queen, but likewise to avoid other women who might not be so good for him. That's what the first half of the chapter, a lot of that's about. And then also in the first half of the chapter mentions, don't get carried away with alcohol, take care of the needy. Don't get lost in partying, take care of your people. Find a good woman, find the right woman. Avoid the woman who will lead to your own destruction. Now if you haven't noticed, we're talking about a king here. So I don't think we're talking about just, the regular husband and wife like us. We're talking about a king pretty specifically. Bianca's getting excited about this lesson. I know, Bianca, this is a good one. So as you've probably seen, it's okay. I'm just being goofy. But as you've probably seen in life, in movies, on TV, in books, in music, wherever else, money and power attracts people who want money and power. Right? We know that. That's obvious. And that's what we're dealing with in this passage. Mom knows her son, the king, looking for a bride, will find a woman who wants to be his bride only because of the money and power. It's harder to find the right woman as a king. And that's where mom's advice is coming from in this passage. Passing along wisdom to a king with royalty king kind of problems. King Lemuel's mother was warning him to stay away from many bad women who are known to bring down kings, to stay sober-minded, concerned about the well-being of his people, and find a good woman, the right woman, to be his partner, because he will find more blessing in that woman than he will find in anything else, even as a king. That woman will bless him in more ways than he could ever count. How rare it is to find a capable wife, a virtuous wife. Her worth is beyond rubies, she says to the king. Beyond anything on this earth. So in what, in who, anything on this earth can we have confidence in like that, like we need, like a king might need in his queen? The earth itself doesn't have our backs, does it? I mean, it kind of does, but the earth is going to function how it functions, according to the laws of nature, whether or not we're in the way. We might get in the way of a hurricane or a tornado. The earth is just doing what the earth does. Many people are the same way. They are going to do what they are going to do, whether or not we are in their way. we might find ourselves victims of that. But also, there are many people out there you can have confidence in, who you can trust with your life, who you can trust with everything. It's not always easy to tell who's who. Finding that one as a king to make your queen, that's going to be tricky. The right one is going to be a rare find. Oh, but once you find her, she brings more joy, more good into your life than you could possibly imagine. She's a hard worker. Living in this world isn't easy. Life is hard out there. A lot of us are spoiled, and some of us might be more spoiled than others. But we get kind of detached from how rough it is to survive and thrive in a world, without our air conditioners and TVs and all the comforts of life. The good woman the king needs to find, she's a hard worker. She gets that surviving and thriving is a big deal. It means something and it's worth the effort. She searches out supplies and goes to work. She's like a merchant fleet. Did you catch that metaphor? She's like a merchant fleet. This woman, the power of one woman. I'll tell you what. She brings food and supplies from far away, supplying everyone in her household, right down to the servants. She puts her mind to something and she gets it. She attains it. She accomplishes it. She achieves it by the work of her own mind and the work of her own hands. Full of strength and vigor, she gets the job done. She's fully aware of how her business thrives. She sleeps with one eye open. Her lamp is always on. She's always thinking about things that need to be done to survive and to thrive. She gets it. I mean, really, why else are we here? And something in a way that we can all agree on. You can look at the creation story, and you can look at arguments from evolution stuff and all that, and we're all on the same page talking about be fruitful and multiply. That goes an awful lot, that goes quite well with survival of the fittest and passing along information to the next generation and all this stuff. I think we can all agree that we have a very big purpose of being here on earth to survive and to thrive. To live life in all kinds of ways. She gets that. She prepares for the future, for her household and for others with generous hands reaching out to the needy. And she's good, she's comfortable, she can reach out to the needy. There's no worries at home. Her whole household is dressed in crimson, they're warm, they're ready for winter. Her husband is freed up from all this stuff that she's doing so he can be there to sit with the elders of the land. Okay, pause for the patriarchal stuff here. This exists within this political and religious structure that only lets boys into the elders club. No girls allowed here, but these words, remember, they're coming from this wise woman to her son the king in the world as it is, not the world as it should be. Right, so she gets how things are, and she gets how to survive and thrive in this kind of thing, and that's just how it was. But the whole point of living as we should and following advice from the Proverbs is to make this world as it should be, right? So we have a hand in that. Although the king's wife is excluded from the elders of the land, she's always aware. She's always preparing. She's working behind the scenes. She is independent, working harder than anyone else to get that respect and success that she deserves, that she has to work harder to get, what her virtue already demands. While the king is meeting with the elders, she's making extra cloth, selling it for more income to support the family. And beyond her beautiful handmade, hand-woven clothing, what she's really clothed in is strength and splendor. She's tough, she's gorgeous, and she is no dummy. She's very aware of all the troubles around her. She's aware of the suffering. She's aware of the poor and needy. She reaches out to do her part to help those people, to right the wrongs in this world, and she does so with joy. She's not ignorant of the problems of the world, just blindly smiling along. She serves and works in this world and does so with joy. She looks to the future cheerfully. She's filled with hope because she knows the goodness in the world. She lives the goodness in the world. She feels the goodness of the world in her soul. She's got good reason for joy. She recognizes the divine in herself. Lady Wisdom. When she speaks, you get wisdom. kindly teaching. Not harsh, not mean, very kind, very wise, ever watchful over her own home, never lazy, getting to work on the next honey-do list item, a honey-do list that she has made for herself. Thank you very much. But not overdoing it. Working hard, but not overdoing it. She knows when to rest. She knows how to be happy, and her children see her happy, and they learn that joy from her. Because, and her husband praises her also, because she is the best person, most amazing blessing that he could ever imagine. Saying, many women have done well, but you surpass them all. Finally, as we get to the end of this chapter, the end of Proverbs, we are reminded of where we started. I know I need to wrap this up. I can get carried away in Proverbs, sorry. So let's remember where we started so we can get where we're going. Although grace is deceptive, remember that, this last set of couplets, although grace is deceptive, beauty is illusory. It is for her fear of the Lord that a woman is to be praised. Grace is deceptive. That's not talking about God's grace, forgiveness, new life, defeating death. That's not the kind of grace we're referencing here. Grace is deceptive in the sense that beauty is deceptive. Beauty is an illusion. Physical beauty, or what we interpret to be physical beauty, it's all temporary. Being graceful in that same kind of sense. Maybe donating to a good cause just to look important. That kind of living gracefully. That's what we're talking about. That's deceptive. So the message, get away from the fake stuff and the fake people trying to deceive you. This good woman is not fake. Quite the opposite. This woman, her life actually revolves around the truth, and that's what leads us to the big line. She remembers where we started, her fear of the Lord. Now, speaking of wise women, Linda mentioned it in Children's Moment today about the fear of the Lord and how way that we ought to think about that. Patty also texted me this week talking about some wise ladies who did their homework from last week. I trust you all did your homework, right? About what does it mean to have the fear of the Lord. So she texted me about it, Patty did, and found some good research and was saying basically what Linda was saying up here. And I agree completely. That when we talk about our fear of the Lord, it's not fear like we usually use the word today. It's more like reverence and awe, inspiring our faithfulness and our obedience to what is right, to the truth, to love, to grace. The real kind of grace, God's grace, forgiveness, life-defeating death. As the book of Proverbs ends. With me mansplaining this mansplanation of the king's mother's advice. May God be praised. May each good woman whose reverence and awe for the Lord is showing who she is, may each good woman be praised, extolled for the fruit of her hand, hearing those praises at the gates. As we heard from the book of James today, draw near to God, and God will draw near to you. So let us draw near to this lady of wisdom, and draw near to those incredible women of our lives through whom Lady Wisdom shines. May we and all of creation embrace this mysterious woman of wisdom. And may we and all of creation be better for it.